Okay, good morning everyone. Nice to see everybody. We have apologies for absence from Councillor Shaw and Councillor Isherwood. Can we approve the minutes of the meeting on the 7th of November?
Agreed.
Agreed.
I haven't got any particular announcements except to say that, you know, Christmas is coming. It's going to be a terrible time for Palestine, Israel, Ukraine, all the troubles across the world at the moment. And I just think that from the Cabinet and myself, we just wish for some peace and a peaceful Christmas for everyone. Just terrible times. The more you see on the television, the more absolute heartbreaking it is. So let's just pray that people see sense and call for some peace. Okay, urgent items. I don't think we have any. Draw attention to the exclusion of public and press, and I draw members' attention to item 6, declaration of interest. Okay. Item 7 is the budget savings and efficiency proposals. Colleagues will be aware that with the current economic climate continues to have a significant impact on the Council and on all local authorities, resulting in increasing demand and rising costs. In October, we set our budget challenge in the year ahead, and today's report, which can be found on pages 11 to 124, is to set out an initial series of budget savings proposals for the upcoming financial year. The savings proposal total 16.8 million and cover additional income generation, maximisation of external funding opportunities and efficiency saving proposals. A further report will come to Cabinet in January, which sets out the full range of budget proposals, along with an assessment of the impact of the funding settlement, which is due to be received by Government later this month, probably on Christmas Eve when everybody is ready to call it a day. I think they do that on purpose. Decisions have not been easy. It's been a tough time, but we are stable and we are sustainable. But quite frankly, if whatever government gets in at the next election, if they don't start to support local government in a proper financial manner, then we're going to be in in 3 years, we'll be in a much more difficult position than we are now. Local government needs to be funded properly, and rather than just expecting us to put council tax up so that local residents pay for all the savings that we have to make, we need to be funded properly, and we need to get that message across to whoever is in government. So the recommendations are set out in section 2, can be found on page 11, and I ask that we agree this report. Are there any questions, Jack, comments or questions?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, fully support the budget and the proposals, and I think people don't see the hard work that goes in behind the scenes to balance the books to reach the position where we're at. And there is a good pedigree of strong financial management within this council that's enabled us to not be in the difficulties that some authorities are. But I fully agree with your comments, Leader. I think what we need to see is stability in local government finance, and rather than settlements coming from government at the last possible minute when it's too late for councils to respond, let's have some stability in multi-year settlements so that councils like Wakefield can have certainty in how we're funded, how we can deliver services. So I join you in calling on that, both from the current government and any future government. It's absolutely essential. Thank you.
Anyone else? Michelle?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I think obviously we've had to make some difficult decisions when coming to this report, because we need to deliver a balanced budget and we need to protect the most vulnerable, and I think when anyone looks into that, I think it's very clear in there that decisions that have been made to protect those vulnerable people and to still provide that level of service that people can expect. Again, I just echo the comments. It's ridiculous that we're having to get to sort of this time of year and not knowing what's happening next year. Nobody can plan a household on that, never mind a local authority. So any government that gets in needs to give us more than a year at a time to know what we're doing so that we can properly provide people with services and enable that to continue.
Thanks, Michelle. Councillor Cummings.
Yeah, I agree with what Michelle has just said. We are expected now to do more for less, and I think as Michelle says, any incoming government now really does need to look at financing local government, particularly around children and adults, and the statutory services that we are expected to deliver. And a longer financial plan would help, but I would like to, thank the officers for actually pulling this together. I mean, it's a good but tight budget, and it will deliver, I think, for residents in our district.
As I normally do, was having a bit of a debate with residents on Facebook the other night. It's the time of year where everybody wants to see Christmas lights up everywhere, and why haven't we got them on every single street light? And the question does, what do you do with our council tax money? And the reason is out there that the majority of our money now, as we all know in this room, is going on looking after people, adults and elderly, children, young people. And I think when we're out on the doorstep with that, the majority of stuff that comes up is not always them services. It's services like street scene, like highways, but really a small proportion of our income now from business, from rates do go on that. And it's what we're all saying, that £200 million being taken off us to level up Wakefield is to give that back. We've all seen it around this chamber, around this room for years and years now. That's the only way we're going to have a fit-for-purpose council for frontline services. So I agree with all the comments made about whoever comes into power need to look after local government like we look after people.
Just to finish, I would like to thank the officers, particularly Caroline and her team, for what you've done and to deliver this budget for us. It's a lot of work's gone into this, and we do appreciate what all of you have done. This year has been a difficult year all round, but Andrew and his team have been amazing how we've managed to get to the stage we are today. So we do thank everyone. And Matthew, I think people on Facebook, yes, unless they're affected by looking after the elderly or they have issues with children, that they resent the fact that we're not spending money on the good things like Christmas lights, Christmas trees everywhere. And somehow we need to get across just how difficult it is for local authorities. Looking after the children, looking after the elderly. There's not much left for anything else. So we've got to get the message across to future government or this government and the public just how local government is funded and what we do about it. It's really very difficult and tough times. Anyway, with that, can we move the report?
Move it.
Thanks very much. Item 8, Councillor Hemingway.
Thank you, Leader. This report seeks to update and upgrade the powers available to the Council to deal with nuisance smoke from chimneys. This is in line with new powers granted under the Environment Act 2021. It seeks approval to use new fixed penalty notices to stop unreasonable and excessive smoke emissions, investigate smoking chimney complaints as a statutory nuisance, and allow prosecution where inappropriate fuel or burners are being sold, which then go on to create a nuisance. In the last 3 years, the Council has had 216 complaints relating to smoke from domestic chimneys, and the existing legislation is time-consuming and hard to enforce. These powers will make it simpler and more effective to enforce breaches relating to smoke and help end this nuisance for residents. They'll not stop the reasonable burning of smokeless fuels. Ultimately, the new powers will only be utilised following a verbal discussion and written warning, and there is also a full appeals process. But it is necessary to have stronger deterrent powers for repeat offenders blighting our communities. The fines proposed in this policy are in line with what other local authorities are proposing and will start at £175, rising to £300 for repeat offenders and ultimately prosecution. The new notices will help to end this nuisance behaviour, which emits harmful particles and will improve air quality and public health in the district. The recommendation is set out on page 129 under option 1, and the full policy is set out in appendix 1. Thank you.
Any comments? Any questions? Michelle?
Yeah, thanks for that, and I welcome the report, and it's great to see that we are going to do something. I just think it's important to highlight with this what you've said, Jack, is that this is not as about us coming in here for people that have the stoves fitted and the log burners fitted to say you absolutely can't do that, because we know for a lot of people that's a coping mechanism. It's just about how we can do that and also protect the environment as well. Most reputable traders that fit these in issue the deficit certificates anyway, and I welcome the fact that we're going to be sort of not just going in there saying, hey, your chimney's smoking, we've, you know, a time where that was acceptable. We're going to go in there and try and do some sort of education and working with them as well, just to guide them, because some people might not know in terms of smokeless fuel and coal. So I welcome that we're going to do a bit of that work as well before going in there sort of with fines.
Anyone else? Okay, can we agree the report?
Agreed.
And you're on again, Jack.
Thank you, Leader. So this is to update the environmental health policy in relation to default works in default, and it's about creating a more robust recovery policy in line with recent legislative changes. So for clarity by works in default, I'm referring to those works which the Council has deemed necessary for a resident or business to comply with to remedy a breach of environmental health legislation or policy. By having this formal written policy, we will ensure a more transparent approach to enforcement of legislation by environmental health, will enable the Council to effectively and proportionally enforce environmental health legislation, and will also reduce the risk to the Council being unable to recoup reasonable expenses where we've carried out works in default. The policy will help make clear to offenders obligations and protect the taxpayer from covering the costs of those committing environmental health breaches. The full policy is set out following the report, and the recommendation is for approval of option 1 as set out on page 155.
Are we all happy with that? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks very much. We agree with that. Councillor Cumming.
Yeah, thank you. This report is to seek approval to re-procure the Stop Smoking Specialist Service here in Wakefield, which expires in July next year. As we know, 1 in 6 people die from the causes of smoking. Smoking during pregnancy is a high risk here in our district, and we have higher than national numbers of women smoking during pregnancy, and we need to curb that. However, we have made some good progress over recent years. We've gone from 15% of smoking down to 12%. It's still a lot, it's still higher than the national average, but we do need to bring it down. So the purpose of the recommendation of this report is to re-procure the Specialist Stop Smoking Service from the 1st of July next year for a period of 2 years. And I move the report.
Any comments? You agree with the report?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Strategic acquisitions for Council. Can't wait for this.
Thanks, Leader. I mean, I've actually not got too much to say on this. There's obviously parts of it that are exempt on the pink paper, so if anyone wants to ask any questions on that, we have to get everyone to leave the room, so I'm sure everyone's fine. But it's asking Cabinet permission to acquire more buildings, so it's great to see this project moving along on the whole from the Towns Fund. We know it's been challenging to acquire buildings in the timescales that we set out. So great to see it moving along, and the inclusion of the Crimea Tavern, because we've got a really great project down at that riverside to turn it into a real destination, a real amazing green space that people can enjoy, and the Crimea Tavern would have been a blight on it. So it'd be great to see that moving along if Cabinet agree today. So with that, recommendations are set out in 2. If we could agree, then that'd be great.
Yeah, I think we can, yes. I think we all agree with that. Thanks very much. The next item is the Vital Signs Performance Report. I'm pleased to share the latest Vital Signs report with you today. It's important that we manage our performance and use our resources efficiently. We're working hard to do this against our priorities to provide value for money to our residents and businesses. And you've heard earlier about Matthew saying about how businesses and the public wonder how we do spend the money. So we have to be accountable. You'll see in the report we set out how we manage and monitor our performance, and through our performance management framework. And I'm pleased that we've made some really positive progress in some areas. But I want to highlight that these are really challenging times, and we are facing significant budget pressures, increasing demand and cost of living crisis. So it is a balance of what we can achieve and what we can't. I wonder if any of my colleagues would like to comment on this report. Councillor Cumming.
Yes, I want to comment on one particular aspect of the report, and it is within the poverty agenda. And that's just again to commend the council and its partners for the range of initiatives, I think, that we have created over the last 3 years to help those people who are struggling. The Money Smart scheme, the home energy scheme, the fuel vouchers, the emergency payments, and the council's welfare scheme. And I do believe that we as a council are making a difference to households who are struggling at the moment and continue to struggle, certainly over this period when they want to give, you know, some joy to their families and are not able to, and again through next year. So we are making some progress, and I think once again I want to commend this council and its partners, and they know who they are, for actually bringing some relief to those households that are struggling, and I think that's highlighted in the report.
Yes, I agree with you, Maureen, it is. Jack?
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I just want to highlight under the environment portfolio where we've seen a reduction in the last 2 quarters in the amount of fly tipping incidents across the district, which is fantastic. But we're not sitting on our laurels. We have a really tough approach to fly tippers. We will prosecute, we will crush vehicles, and we do use candid cameras. So it's a good trend, but we're going to keep up the hard work to make sure that fly tipping incidents keep falling across our district.
Anyone else? Matthew?
Yeah, it just does show us out looking to the report that in the last quarter, 721 contacts were made regarding potholes and conditions of roads and what have you, and we reacted to them. So it just does show us the small amount of money that we do have in highways, and we're trying to make a massive difference around there. And one service that doesn't get a great mention in this council, it's a fantastic, I'm really pleased to represent it, is the planning department. We're still going way above the national average of sort of plan applications out, so a big shout out to them as well.
Great. Anyone else? Okay. So thank you for the updates, and thank you again to officers for all the work that has gone into this. And can we recommend that this report be submitted to the Overview and Scrutiny Management Board for consideration and further examination if it's deemed appropriate?
Agreed.
And we agree that. Okay, thanks very much. Maureen, Public Open Space Protection Order.
Yeah, the straightforward report is to seek approval to impose a public space protection order along Tuscany Way in Altofts. The order is intended to provide additional tools for authorised officers of the police and the council to deal with nuisance, antisocial behaviour in regard to motor vehicles and their associated activities. The area is outlined on the plan attached at agenda page 285, and the recommendation is to seek approval to impose the order.
Okay, fairly straightforward. Thank you. Can we approve that? Yeah. And then item 14, Notting the Ferry Bridge and Pontefract Action Plan.
Yeah, thanks, Denise. So these are the action plans for Nottingham Ferry Bridge and for Pontefract. We made these action plans back in 2018, 2019 respectively. The action plans themselves are located on agenda page 473, so you can get a sense of sort of some of the things that we've been doing in these areas. We've made it really clear that these areas are some of our priorities to deliver across the district, and this report is all about celebrating some of the things that have been done, but also reviewing it. And when we've looked at the action plans, we found that some things have been completed and can come off, some things need to be changed, and there's other priorities that have raised their head throughout the years. So this is just a review. We have shared this with external stakeholders, with elected members and with the wider team in the council, and got lots of feedback, and we think this new one is fit for purpose for all of the areas listed. Also, just as a final thing for this report, we've got the design code, which was an additional supplementary plan and document that's going to be really useful in delivering this action plan. So this was funded by I'm laughing because you can read this 1,000 times, you still won't know what a design code is. It's so abstract, but it's there. It's there in person. You can feel it, you can look at it, and you can make of it what you will. But this will all help towards delivering that action plan. So with that, Leader, move the report. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I think we're all pleased to see this report coming forward. Anybody got any questions? Can we agree the report then? Thank you very much. And then, as I say, Councillor Shaw couldn't be with us today, so item 15 is the annual complaints and compliments report. I'm not sure we get too many compliments, but so I'm pleased to be able to present the annual complaints and compliments report for the financial year. It's a really important report which outlines escalated contact that we get from our residents that tends to be about and how we're improving to provide better customer service for our communities. The annual report this year shows a reduction in the number of complaints received, down by 20% compared to the previous year. So all in all, I probably think that's a good result. Any comments on it, Maureen?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on it. I think it's a good report, to be honest. And the way it's laid out, the infographics in it makes it easy to read. And I think we have to remember that people are quick to, to complain, but not quick to compliment when it is that something goes right. And when you look at some of the figures in here, complaints received 1,049. I mean, it really isn't, and I bet they're all potholes or not empty in the bins. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an excellent report.
It is.
And I like the way it's set out, and it's easy to read.
It is, yeah. Michael?
Yeah, I was just going to make the point on compliment as well, and just to touch on what Maureen said, I think when people complain, they really like to complain, like to phone up, like to email, they really go for it. Whereas Matthew mentioned on Facebook, everything we put out there, every little good news story, you get hundreds of likes on each one, and each one of those likes is a compliment. It might not be phoning the council and recording it, but it's a compliment to this council and to all the staff who are doing a great job through difficult circumstances. So, yeah, happy with the report, and yeah, that's it.
Okay. Anyone else? Michelle?
Yeah, just to echo comments really, when you look at this, we've emptied over 9.7 million bins and looked after 1,454 kilometres of road, so that's less than one complaint for every kilometre of road, Matthew. I just think that it looks like a big number when you think we've got just over 1,000, but as Michael said, lots of us, and you never really go and say, oh, do you know what, I'm going to email them and tell them what such a good job they did, but actually if something's not right, you will definitely email somebody and tell them that it weren't right. So I think to have sort of those numbers is a testament to the teams and everybody and how they go above and beyond to make sure that the council runs efficiently. So well done, everybody.
Yes, I think so. And thanks very much for this report. It's an excellent report, and as Maureen says, very well presented. So can we agree the report? Thanks very much, everybody. We might